If you want to win more tennis matches, then you've clicked on exactly the right video. Unfortunately, a lot of tennis players get stuck in a trap related to how they practice, how they train, and also how they perceive and kind of have the perspective they have on what match play is. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So here's what most tennis players, and probably you included, do to try to become a better tennis player and win more matches. This tends to be how we spend most of our time. Some combination, and the breakdown or the ratio might be a little bit different from player to player. But speaking from my own personal experience, I spend a lot of time on the ball machine hitting balls, and that's great. It's really valuable repetition. I've spent a lot of time recently in lessons or training sessions with a coach, where a coach is guiding me through training and trying to focus on things that are important to me. That's really valuable as well. It helps to have that outside perspective from an expert to put you down the right path and focus on the right things. And recently, I've been also spending a lot of time in partner training with Mark Sanset, with Scott Browdy, recently with Matt. And so I kind of have a rotation of training partners I've been hitting with as well. And we do point play, we do some match play, we do a lot of cooperative hitting. So this is all great. These are all good things. But if this is all you do, and in particular, if you jump back and forth between this and like real match play, and you don't have a good perspective about how they're related and how they're connected, then you can really get stuck in a rut and stop improving in terms of your win-loss ratio. So if win-loss ratio is something that you'd like to improve and it's important to you, then please keep watching. This is super, super important stuff. If all you do are these things, tell me if this resonates with you, then eventually you'll end up, the result is that you'll eventually be a professional practice court hitter. Somebody who has completely maximized and kind of maxed out their ability to hit fantastic, impressive, like great shots on the practice court. But in match play, they're basically a different player. They basically take tools from a different toolbox in practice, and then in match play, they have a separate toolbox filled with separate tools, and they take those tools out of their other toolbox during matches. Does that sound familiar? Do me a favor and let me know in the comments down below. Let me know in the live chat if you're watching right now if that sounds familiar. So again, just to be very clear here, these are not bad things. These are very, very important things for your development, but they're for something very specific. And I'll differentiate, I'll be very clear by the end of this video to let you know exactly kind of where to draw the line and where this is important, but it won't necessarily result in more wins. And all the proof you need for this is like, you know, look at players like Ben, like most exhausting player. I'm sure at your local courts, you can think of a player right now that doesn't have fantastic technique. Like their aesthetic isn't pretty. Like they don't look like the most impressive player. They don't hit the biggest shots. They don't hit the most topspin. They don't grunt the loudest. Shout out to Mark Sanset. They don't hit the most impressive shots. They're not the most athletic, but their win-loss ratio is incredible, right? Can you kind of picture that person? You know who I'm talking about? So if this is all you focus on, then you'll end up being a professional practice court hitter. And you'll be able to hit really impressive shots during practice, but in crunch time, when it really counts and matters related to winning matches, then you're gonna come up short. So here's the truth. Match play performance is a separate skill from practice court performance. And this has become just really painfully obvious for me recently as I've started to play more matches. I have kind of coming back from an injury, did a lot of kind of ball machine training, did a lot of controlled, like cooperative hitting, did a lot of private lesson kind of training with a coach where, again, very controlled environment just so that I didn't re-injure myself and re-hurt myself. And now I'm just starting to get back into real, match play again. And it's become painfully obvious to me that I hit a certain level of shot in my training and practice and a very different level of shot when I play my match play. There's a disconnect for me right now. There's a separation between my quality of hitting in practice and my quality of hitting in match play. So I've been thinking a lot about this, which is why I'm making this video today, because I want to share with you my process. Like, this is how I'm going to be tackling it personally, and you'll see a lot of videos of me coming out in the coming weeks and months about exactly what I'm doing, but this video is just basically going to kind of lay out the formula or the solution. So my personal challenge right now is I'm able to hit loose, smooth, offensive forehands in practice, and I could expand this to the rest of my game as well, but for me, this is like the most painful part of it, is I feel loose and free and smooth and fluid and confident when I hit my forehand in practice. I can hit inside in, inside out, cross court, down the line, like any direction. That's kind of like my main primary offensive weapon or attacking shot. But in matches, I just totally spray my forehand. What happens is in match play, I have, because of the extra kind of outside elements, which we're going to talk about in a moment, when it comes down to crunch time and I realize, oh, this is my opening, like this is my chance to put away this point. This is my chance to hit my opponent off the court or to take control of the point. In that critical moment, right before I hit the ball, I get tight and tense and rigid, and I just like muscle the ball and spray it all over the place. And then the next day, I'll come out and hit against the ball machine, and everything is loose and fluid again. Can you relate to that? If that sounds like incredibly relatable to you, do me a favor and click the like button. And let me know in the comments and in the live chat as well. It's super common for a lot of players. And this is what I'm personally dealing with right now. So here's kind of the solution. This is the way that mentally I kind of categorize this, how as a coach I view this. And the way, if you and I were working together on your game and you were kind of stuck in this area, this is the process I would be following with you, and it's the process that I'm following in my own game. Number one, reinforce. This kind of like goes in a cycle here. Step number one is reinforce. Just because the ball machine repetitions don't necessarily solve your match play forehand or match play backhand or whatever it is, whatever shot it is that you hit great in practice but you kind of choke in match play, the ball machine reps are important to continue reinforcing to yourself that I can hit this shot. That's what makes it so frustrating in match play, is because you have this very recent memory of maybe just the day before you were in a training session or hitting with the ball machine, and you're hitting this very same shot fantastic and it feels great. And so in match play, when you're missing it, it sucks, like it's frustrating, but that doesn't mean stop reinforcing to yourself that I can make this, I can make this, I can make this. That's an important part of the process. So that's number one. Number two is stress, or you could also say stretch. So in your practice play, you need to sprinkle in pressure, competitive type elements so that you stress and you don't just hit your forehand when it's an easy shot, it's a convenient shot, it's a reliable shot, it's a repetitive shot where it's like the same ball again and again and again and again with no outside pressure, no outside stress, no extra like running and making it uncomfortable and awkward. If you're going to hit your best shots in matches, then you have to stress and stretch yourself in practice. And this is critical. You need to be honest with yourself. How much are you stressing yourself in practice? And I don't just mean physically. I mean psychologically and emotionally as well. And in a minute, I'm going to give you some ideas on how you can do that. But you have to stress yourself in practice. Practice can't just be about hitting good feeling shots. If in practice you just focus on hitting like your best ball and your practice partner or your coach or the ball machine is just set up to just put the ball on a tee over and over, that's fun and it feels good and it helps build your confidence. But in match play is all about stress, emotional stress, psychological stress, physical stress. our opponent on the other side of the net is trying to make us uncomfortable. So if you don't make yourself uncomfortable in training, then you'll never, ever, ever be able to do it in matches. So stressing during your training is super, super key. Next up, consolidate. So when you stress yourself in training, your shot is going to break down. That's the whole point. You want to make the shot break down. The key is managing how much it breaks down. If you break it down 97%, then that's not very productive. Then you leave the court just feeling like a failure and like, man, maybe my forehand's just terrible. Like it's just a bad shot. You destroy all of this work that you did, which is important. You know, feeling good, feeling confident, that's great. Like build your confidence. If when you stress, you go to the extreme, then you never really have any kind of foundation. You don't really have anything to build on top of. For most people, that's not a problem. For most people, they don't stress themselves enough. And then they get to matches, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So reinforce, hit easy shots, comfortable shots, stress, stretch yourself, stretch your comfort zone. Consolidate means take notes on what worked, what didn't, when and where and how did the shot break down. Then you can repeat and go back to the practice court with the ball machine or with your practice partner or with your coach and say, hey, I pushed myself in this psychological way, this emotional way, this physical way, this footwork or like movement way, and my forehand broke down X, Y, and Z. But it did really well with A, B, and C. And so you kind of start to get to know yourself on a little bit deeper level and how your game holds up under stress and pressure. But most importantly, honestly, how your game breaks down. Where and how specifically does your game break down when you add that stress? Then you can go back to the practice court and work on those specific things. And that's what consolidation means. Like you go to the practice court and say, okay, I've started to master this, this, and this, but these three things are still just really causing me trouble. And that might be a mental thing, it might be a physical thing. You have to figure out what that is. And that only happens by stressing yourself in practice. Hopefully that makes sense. So reinforce, that's easy reps. Stress, that's challenging yourself. Consolidate, make notes on what broke down, what didn't, and then repeat the cycle again and again and again and again and again. Does that make sense? Hopefully this is making sense. This is the way that I kind of view this process of building myself up as a competitor. Now, this is as opposed to, this is the cycle that most tennis players go through. In practice, they're comfortable and they basically put a premium on hitting their best shots, which means they're staying in their comfort zone. And so they're just teeing off on like winner shot after winner shot after winner shot. Then they go play a match and everything is different. Their opponent is trying to make them uncomfortable. They're not used to the mental pressure or stress. They're not used to the psychological warfare of their opponent yelling "bois" every time they hit the ball. So they freak out, they get angry at themselves, they choke, and they totally go through a downward negative spiral, they panic. Then the next day they go back to the practice court and they go right back to hitting 1,000 balls in their comfort zone again without any stress, without any challenge. Then the next week they play another match and they go right back to freaking out and like in panic mode again. So for me, this is all about introducing that stress that we talked about in little bite-sized pieces so that rather than going from extreme to extreme, like super comfortable to super panic, back to super comfortable to super panic, you have to introduce different amounts and different types of stress and strain into your game so that you can start to kind of be a little scientist on the court and say, oh, when I add this type of footwork and I'm keeping track of score and there's this amount of pressure, then I start to hit my forehand long, or whatever it is. That's more or less like what happens for me. And so I just, without thinking about it, I just basically kind of described like my own pattern. So now I know when I go back to the practice court, I need to inject this kind of stress and that kind of stress and the other kind of stress, so that I can start to build up my ability in match play to actually hit my best shots, the shots that I know I can hit, but they just don't come out in match play. It just doesn't work the way I want it to in match play. Okay, so here's some ideas of stress. I mentioned like sprinkling in, little bits and pieces of stress in your practice play. So here's, just off the top of my head here, here's 7 different ideas. Add score. I know it sounds really basic, but there's a lot of tennis players who in practice never keep track of score. They're just groove hitters. They're professional practice court hitters, and they're just grooving, and they never add that mental or psychological pressure of keeping track of score and knowing that, oh, I'm way ahead, or I'm way behind, or they're about to win, or I'm about to win. Like all those things like cause players to blow up. And so you have to introduce that into your training. Targets, trying to hit an actual target on the court. Mark Sansa and I did a drill on my YouTube channel a couple weeks ago where we were doing that. And we made a little game. We made a competitive game out of it. Mark and I have done that several times, actually. Self-rewards. Add a little pressure in terms of if I reach X, Y, or Z like performance indicator, whatever it is for you, number of points won, or number of games won, or number of matches won, add some kind of positive outcome, whatever it is for you, buying yourself something nice, or buying yourself a new racket, or treating yourself to something. By the way, different players are going to respond to these things completely different ways. You have to figure out for yourself what is going to move the needle and add a little bit of the right amount of stress. Add a bet with your coach, with your practice partner. Put something on the line, push-ups, or it could be $10, or it could be buying beers afterwards, or whatever. Add some kind of consequence. It's kind of the same thing as betting, but you could do this just personally too. If you lose to this player or that player, and tell yourself that you have to go run 10 miles. I don't know. It's just the first thing that comes to mind for me. Put something that you want to avoid. This is something that you'd like to gain. These are very different, and different people respond to these in different ways. This is an outcome that you would like to achieve, that you'd like to gain. This is an outcome that you'd really like to avoid. Some people the needle moves more for one or the other. So get to know yourself and which one adds more stress and less stress. Social pressure. Invite your wife to come watch you, or your girlfriend to come watch you, or your kids to come watch you, or your coach to come watch you, or your kids, like whatever. Like add some kind of social pressure. Record yourself and make a promise to yourself that you're going to post the recording to your social media so that all your friends can see it. Those are all examples of social pressure. Start a YouTube channel and post everything. That's what I've done. I highly recommend. It's not for everybody, but it adds a lot. It adds a lot of stress. And then finally, just play matches. Play more matches. This is what I'm doing more recently. But I'm going to be incorporating all of these different things into my training. I'm throwing all of this at the wall and seeing what sticks, so that I can overcome these sticking points in my match play. These are just some ideas for you. So hopefully this is helpful. If it has been helpful, or even if it's not helpful, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know in the chat. This is where I'm at in my game right now. I don't want to be a professional practice court hitter. I want to be able to hit my best shots under pressure, like with all of these things present. I want to be able to hit my best shots with all of this. Keeping track of score and targets, putting some kind of reward for myself on the line, making a bet with my opponent, having a negative consequence if I lose, knowing I'm going to post the video in front of tens of thousands of people. Like I'm checking all of these boxes because I want to push past this sticking point for myself. So I'd love to hear, what has your challenge been, and what part of what you heard today really resonates with you the most? And maybe most importantly, how are you planning on taking action? What steps are you going to take to start to move through these different steps and hopefully put yourself in the right direction? Reinforce, stress, consolidate, repeat. How are you planning on actually making that happen in your own game? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. I hope this was super helpful. Keep working hard in your game, and I'm going to continue doing the same thing. All right, everybody, thanks for watching live. I really appreciate it. Wow, Tom, I really appreciate you being honest here in the chat. Tom in the chat said, all the ratings stuff is stressful for juniors, but most adults don't really continue playing proper competitions. I used to go around different locations to play match plays or high-level tournaments to boost my ranking, but looking back, I'm not sure if it was worth it. Yeah, listen, Tom, that's an interesting topic. And by the way, if you have any questions for me or comments, leave them in the chat right now, and I'll be happy to get to as many as I can. I probably won't be able to get to everything, but let me know. Tom, listen, let me be really clear on this. If you could care less about rankings or ratings, you just love the feeling of the ball hitting the racket, and your biggest satisfaction in tennis is being a professional practice court hitter, then be a professional practice court hitter, right? That's totally fine. If you could care less, who wins, who loses, what the number next to your name is, then awesome. More power to you. God bless. Go work on perfecting your technique, making everything smooth and feel perfect, and just don't even play matches. That's fine. This video, the presentation I just did, is targeted at people who want to win more and put that ahead of looking the prettiest. Not that there's anything wrong with wanting to look pretty, but sometimes there's kind of a divergence, and sometimes you kind of have to pick one or the other. It's not always possible to optimize for both at the same time. So you do you. Don't feel like you have to be all in on trying to maximize your rating. If you want to do that, that's fine too. Just kind of be honest with yourself about what makes you the most happy on the court, and then push hard for that. Work for that. It's totally fine. All right, let's see what we got here. Are shadow swings actually helpful? 1,000%. Rainier, is it? Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I know I see you around here a lot. Yes. Do you think I would just use them to kill time? I use them myself every time I work on my own game. I use them with my students. Every student I work with, we do shadow swings. And I could talk for an hour about why shadow swings are critical, but in a very, very small nutshell, it's the first step in the process of perfecting any kind of movement. Without shadow swings, if you're always hitting a ball, then you're always calling back your subconscious habits. If the only time you swing a racket is hitting a ball, then there's a part of your old bad habits that's always kind of being put into action. That computer program that is your habit for your backhand, your forehand, your serve, you're constantly calling on that computer program every single time you swing. And if you want to break a bad habit, then using shadow swings is powerful because it allows you to do something new without the ball triggering your normal program. It allows you to swing in a totally different way without your subconscious essentially forcing you to do the swing the way you always do the swing. So it's a very fast way to get on the right track to changing a habit to something new. That's why shadow swings are powerful. What should I do to improve on a rainy day? Shark drums. Shark, if you go to our YouTube channel and you do a search for, or actually, if you just go to YouTube in general and you do a search for Essential Tennis Home, we did a 7-part series when COVID first started last year. Essential Tennis Home. I'm going to put in part 1, but we did a 7-part series, How to improve your tennis at home. This is part 1. There's 7 parts to this. So do essential tennis, part 1, part 2, part 3, all the way through to part 7, obviously. We gave a lesson on how to improve technique, strategy, fitness, mental game. I'm trying to think what else. It was 7. Coordination. There was 7 parts. Footwork, that was number 6. I'm blanking on number 7 right now. But all of those things, do all of those things on a rainy day, and you can benefit your tennis game tremendously. Hey, Brian, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Sandra, thanks for watching. Appreciate your support. Nobody here in Germany uses shadow swings. I tried to implement it like Ian does, and students really love it to learn a clean motion. Mel, why do you? That's interesting. So you're saying you use it and your students enjoy it. Why do you think in Germany it's just not? And by the way, here in America, they aren't used by coaches very frequently either. It's not like a normal thing in an American tennis lesson to use shadow swings either. I don't know, if I had to just totally just pull a number out of thin air, I would say across the United States, every lesson taught today, maybe 5% of lessons there's going to be shadow swings, and the rest is just kind of standard, like just rapid fire, like tons of feeding, tons of running, maybe like a little bit of a pause and kind of talk about, oh, you're not bending your knees enough or whatever, and then going back to rapid fire feeds again. So to be honest, it's not a big part of lessons here in America either. But why do you think it's not normal part of lessons in Germany, Mel? Did you target being a pro when you were a teen? Yeah, Tom, I definitely. When I was a kid, I had no idea. The reality of tennis. I had no idea. I had very low perception of how much money it took. I had very low perception of how much talent and skill it took. I had very low awareness and perception of my inherent, skill and ability and talent level. And I was way behind on all 3 of those things, from the beginning. Money, time, talent, timing, when I started. I was behind on all of those things, and I didn't really start to understand that or realize it until I would say I was maybe about 20 years old or so. And so I would say my early teens, that was definitely that was a dream of mine for sure. If I could be a professional tennis player, that was definitely my biggest dream. But when I found out that I could teach and have a career and make a living out of being on a tennis court as a teacher and be on a tennis court all day and get paid for it, that replaced that dream of being a professional player. And so it was very much my next, I don't necessarily even want to say next dream, but it kind of went hand in hand with, my dream was just to be around tennis, I guess I would say. Obviously being a professional player would have been, incredible, but in hindsight now, looking back, it was never in the cards for me, not from any measurable, not from any kind. It was never in the cards for me, not from any direction, or any category that you want to talk about. Oscar, best advice for high school players: just do your best, man. Dude, just work hard. Oscar, most of the players on your team, hopefully this doesn't come off too negative, but tell me in the chat, yes or no. Most of the players on your team kind of go half, right? They're not really passionate about it. They're not really pushing themselves or working as hard as they could. Maybe when the coach is watching or when it's a match they really want to win, they'll really try hard, they'll really push themselves. But there's not many players on your team, are there, that are just 100% full effort, full intensity? Yeah, Oscar says yes in the chat. Every practice, every match. So be that player, Oscar. That's my advice. Be the player that shows up 10 minutes early or half an hour early, already hitting balls, already hitting serves, Be the player that runs after every ball until it bounces twice. Be the player that tries on, like if your coach has you do like sprints or like fitness or like conditioning, be the player that tries to win every single sprint. Just push yourself as hard as possible, and you will excel so much faster than all the rest of your peers, and you will separate yourself. You will set yourself apart from the 90% of everybody else who's playing on your team. Your coach will notice, you will accelerate faster, and it'll put you in a position to be more successful down the road, not just in tennis, but in the rest of life too. Like if you can teach yourself, just a sec. If you can teach yourself now how to be that person on your team, and you get comfortable with being like the try-hard, person, people are going to try to keep you from doing that because it'll make them uncomfortable. When you push yourself hard, it'll make everybody else around you a little bit uneasy because they're like, oh, well, why is he trying so hard? Like, why does he think he's so great? It'll make them uncomfortable about themselves. And if you can get comfortable being in that position now, it will put you in an awesome position for the rest of your life. Being comfortable in being the person who tries to excel, who tries to push themselves day after day after day. That's the best advice I can possibly give you. Hopefully that makes sense. Reeker boy, man, yeah. So I had a big match yesterday. Man, I'm used to talking all day, every day. I don't know why my throat is annoying me right now. What's the best mindset to have before stepping on the court for a big match? Yeah, so I played a match yesterday. I'm not going to say anything about it. It'll come out eventually. But it was against a player I'd never played before. Mark, thank you for the super chat. Buy me pizza for podcast tomorrow. Thanks for the super chat, Mark. Mark, you and I should just kind of scheme. We should like do $1,000 super chat just back and forth. Like I'll start it and then we'll just pass it back and forth, and that way we'll look super like baller in each other's live streams. Okay, sorry. So yeah, yesterday I played a match against a player I'd never seen before in my life. I'd never met them. I'd never hit a ball against them, and I felt honestly a lot of nerves, a lot of tension, a lot of excitement beforehand. And my best advice to you would be to enjoy that moment, enjoy that process. I could make tons and tons of videos just on this topic, but have the perspective that it's a huge opportunity for you to be in that situation. Do you know how many people go through their life day after day after day after day? They never feel that kind of challenge. They never put themselves in a position to be able to push themselves and try to get better and better and better. It's such a huge privilege to be able to just be in that situation. So that's like mindset, like thing number one for me, that's really big. Number two, mindset thing for me is I kind of relish the opportunity to have things exposed in my game. Don't hope or wish for a match where everything goes your way, everything feels fantastic, all your weapons are firing, like everything goes exactly the way you hope it would go. Instead, go in with the mindset that I'm excited to be stressed and challenged. I'm excited to have things revealed that I need to work on. If that's your mentality, then when you go out there on the courts, you're no longer trying to protect yourself from discomfort. You're no longer trying to protect yourself from like having it be a struggle. You're hoping it's if you go into a match hoping it's a struggle, you're going to do so much better in competition than somebody who's like, oh man, like I hope they're not too good. I hope everything feels perfect. Like if that's your kind of baseline you're trying to protect, then the first time they hit a winner and you're down break point, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, this is terrible. Like what am I going to do? Like you go into panic mode. And that's the last place you want to be mentally. Hopefully that makes sense. Mark would die happy if he got a pizza sponsorship, Steve. Oh, that's a good, Brian, Brian, that's a good point. Yeah, if we trade $1,000 back and forth, that's actually a really good point. I don't remember what the percentage is that YouTube takes, but yeah, we'd basically just be paying, YouTube over. Thank you, Brian, for pointing that out. Tech DIY, glad you enjoyed the video about going to the net. Awesome, good to hear. Oh, Rick, your boy, hey, thanks, man. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Really appreciate your support a lot. Rackley, I'm currently a sophomore in high school and ranked one of the top spots in the team. Past 2 matches I played, the players were significantly better. Any tips on playing better players? Yeah, I mean, first of all, it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with what I was just talking about, Rackley. Like, that's an awesome position to be in. Like, when you know they're better, then it drops expectations and you can just kind of be free to, you know, it's like, okay, like there's no pressure on you to have to, you're not supposed to win. Most players play better in that scenario. And so just, I would say just totally own that position as being kind of the underdog and just totally like swing out and just be free and enjoy the challenge. When I was in college, there were 6 spots in the lineup. There were 6 singles and then 3 doubles. And I was the number 6 player on my college team for 3 years in a row. And so every day I showed up to practice, I was the worst player there every day. It didn't mean I couldn't push and like challenge my teammates, but you know, pretty objectively, you know, speaking, like, you know, if we played a match, they would all beat me the vast majority of the time, most of the time. That's why I was number 6. And so I learned to really love that, being put in that position, because every day was like a learning opportunity for me. Every day, like, my improvement probably went up at a much higher rate than all of theirs because I was being pushed more than everybody else on the team. No matter who was across the net from me, like they were pushing me, they were challenging me, they were stressing me. So honestly, I would encourage you to go into it with that kind of perspective, like appreciating the opportunity, like being grateful for being in that position. Like there's something to be said for being the weak player on the court. Like there can be a lot of value there. Ali, thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Let's see, what else do we have here? I'll just answer a couple more here. There's a couple more things I need to record today. Man, this time always goes by so fast. I can't believe I've been doing this for 40 minutes. Questions. Is it productive for 2 newbies to play and practice fundamentals, or should we spring for a couple lessons? Brandon, I would totally do both. I think there's value and there's benefit in both environments. Of course, like a coach, like the downside is it takes money out of your bank account, but the plus side is the coach can provide you exactly the right amount of challenge. Coaches are experts. Like a phrase that I've heard used a lot by professional coaches is customer tennis. Coaches know how to provide a ball, provide a feed, provide a shot that's like 5% better than what their student is comfortable with. And so a good coach will keep you just a little bit outside your comfort zone day after, like hour after hour after hour after hour, and that can help you improve faster. But you also need to learn how to control your own shots enough, and this person that you train with or hit with needs to learn how to control their shots enough that you can work together and be cooperative and provide that same kind of quality, kind of repetition or training in a mutual way back and forth between yourself and your partner. That's super valuable too. Like that's tremendous training to purposefully try to hit the ball there instead of just hitting the ball wherever, and when it goes somewhere other than your partner, be like, yeah, that was a good shot. When you watch, you know, low level kind of beginner tennis at like you're at a park or your local courts, most of the winners are completely accidental. Like, player was not aiming there at all. It just ended up being a good shot, which I would argue, is it really good if you weren't even trying to do that? Like, it's just an accident. So if you and your partner can go out there, even if you are terrible at it at first, have the goal of being cooperative and training and working together to build yourselves up. That'll be a huge benefit to you and your partner as well. So I would say do both. It's not either or. I would do both for sure. Let's see. Would you make a series where you review tennis clips sent from viewers from their play and try to guess their ability or ranking? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would do that, Alex. It's kind of like I don't know that it's necessarily a benefit. It would be just like an entertainment, video, I guess. Like, it doesn't really provide any value to anybody. I don't like uploading anything unless it's like it's helpful and it's instructive, and like with our match play, like there's a lot to be learned from our match play series, and I view it as inspirational as well. Like, hopefully you all agree that it inspires you. It like pushes you to go out there and challenge yourself, and put yourself on the line, and work harder on your own game. I don't really see any kind of like positive benefit to the like guess the rating game. Maybe it would be fun, but it wouldn't necessarily like be super valuable, I don't think. How's your ankle feeling these days? Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so I played a 2-hour, 15-minute long match yesterday. The ankle, by the way, just not that it really matters, but ankle is totally fine. It's really my foot that got the worst, and that's really what my injury was my foot. I would say for about a half an hour, maybe 40 minutes of my match yesterday, my foot ached a little bit. And it was after 2 points specifically where I ran down a drop shot. And so like slamming like repetitively, like more aggressively than normal, still makes my foot ache a little bit. But I would say it's probably 90%. It's probably 85, 90% healed, which is great. So no, I'll tell you, Rieker, no, it wasn't MEP yesterday. Yesterday's match wasn't MEP, but he's coming up sooner rather than later. That's all I'm going to say about that. We have so much content stacked up for you guys that it's going to be a while until the MEP content kind of makes its way through the funnel. But it's definitely coming. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to happen. Yeah, so Mel, the next match you'll see from me is me versus Adam, actually. And that'll be coming out in about a week, maybe a week and a half or so. You'll see me play Adam, is the next match play series with me coming out. Hey, Brandon Martin, you're welcome. Glad you're enjoying the sport. How do you find the right tennis coach to go from 4.0 to competition level? Matter in mind, why can't you be at competition level at 4.0? There's tons of great competition at the 4.0 level. I'm kind of being a little bit picky, I'm kind of picking at you a little bit there, but there's nothing keeping you from being a competitive tennis player right now. I would kind of challenge you on how you phrase that question, first of all. As far as finding a good coach, it's rare for adults to want this, but you want to seek out a high-performance certified coach, somebody who normally works with junior players, somebody who normally is working with like regionally ranked, nationally ranked juniors, somebody whose specialty is like taking teenagers and developing them to be college players. And depending on where you live, it might be hard to find somebody who checks those boxes. But you want to look for somebody who that's kind of their resume, is that kind of experience and that kind of expertise. and then tell them you want to push yourself in a high performance, style, stretch your game and just become the best player you want to be, best player that you can possibly be. That's what I did when I found Coach Eric. Eric is probably the most regarded high performance coach in this area here in Milwaukee. He mostly works with juniors because usually adults just don't want to work that hard. They don't want to be pushed that hard. And so he mostly works with juniors, and he's developed kids many times to be college players. So he has a lot of experience teaching players significantly higher level than me. And so that's what you want to look for, is somebody with that kind of experience specifically. Hey, Trip. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any ladies matches coming up? I've been texting with local 4-5 ladies just the last couple days, and it's looking very positive that we're going to get a female matchup. Also, just earlier today, I started texting with a local high-level mixed team. It looks very likely that we'll have a high-level mixed matchup on the court in the near future as well. Yeah, Omar, maybe I will. Video of the HIIT exercises I've been doing. Yeah, I might. I feel really good. Yesterday, I had a long match yesterday, and it's the most physically prepared I've felt for any match I've played so far. So I really feel good about what I've been doing, and yeah, maybe I'll post a video sometime soon showing like the routine I've been doing at home. That's a good idea. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Really appreciate the super chats, and if you didn't send a super chat, I still appreciate you so much. Just being here, watching the videos, clicking the like button really does help the videos. Thank you everybody who did that. Matter in Mind, thank you. Appreciate the super chat. I'm not sure what the broken controller emoji is all about, but I appreciate your support very much. Oh yeah, and you'll definitely see me playing doubles. Okay, so we've been talking about Scott Browdy, Mark Sanset, Ira, and myself, us four. The four of us are going to play a doubles match, and we haven't figured out what teams are going to be yet. But that'll probably be my first doubles match here on the court, and I'm really excited for that. I think that'll be a really fun match. All right, thanks everybody. I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for your support. Thanks for all your engagement. Hopefully today's video was helpful. And another upload coming tomorrow. Oh, by the way, we just made this decision. We're going to start uploading six times a week. We're going to be posting here on YouTube. The new schedule starting this week is every day but Saturday. Yeah. Every day but Saturday, there's going to be a post here on the channel. So if you're not subscribed yet, like why are you not subscribed? There's no other tennis channel doing instructional content 6 days a week. So subscribe. It's the right thing to do. Thanks everybody. I'll catch you again later. Hope you have a great rest of your week.